Hey guys, this is National Master Kevye back at it with another video, this time about one of my own games that I just played on chess.com, and so I wanted to share with you some long time control game. And I did lose this game, but I think as a whole we can learn a lot from it. I just want to share my 15-minute analysis with you. So, I'm black, and my opponent plays e4. Now I play what is called a modern, right? The d6, the g6. I want to bring this guy out, I want to bring the knight out, I want to push e5, something like that. And it's sort of slow, right? I'm not exactly challenging the center. And this goes against opening principles, but it's very tricky because this slow sort of setup gives me the maneuvering space, or the the time we get to rotate things in order to really get our pieces in the right squares. So bishop e3, I think I should have played knight f6 here, but instead I played c6, bishop c4. Now we gotta be careful sometimes. Like with these things, there might be some e5 action, right? Or let's talk about, for example, queen c7. Then we might have to worry about things like bishop takes f7, right? King takes, knight g5, king e8, knight e6, and something queen a5. Knight takes, king f7, knight f5. I don't know. There are tricky things, right? Apparently, this is very weird. I don't know why the computer is saying 0-0 in this situation, but a3, a3, really, because we're threatening b4. Oh, because I see. So if the bishop moves away, then b4 comes, and the knight wants to check on this square, so the queen has to stay on the diagonal, but then knight a4 comes in, and black is completely losing. So these things are sort of tricky, right? So that's why I didn't play queen c7. I played queen a5. Castles. I brought my knight out. d5. Now, during the game I thought, okay, this probably doesn't do anything for him. So with that sort of logic, I decided, follow through with my own plan. So I castled. h3, queen b4. Now, another interesting move I could have played was b5. And I'm threatening the bishop, but if he takes here, he's threatening my knight. So takes, takes, takes. And we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's going to be even after this, and I get the open file. So I guess this is good for me. But I somehow missed it, right? I somehow thought that, I was going to lose a piece after this, but even people like me did not calculate hard enough. And I think that's the thing about chess, is that it's for everyone. It's not some sort of genius game that makes somebody look smarter than another. It's one of those games where even the common person can learn it. And even though it might seem hard, it's not impossible, right? So, okay, b4 was the move, but instead I played queen b4. I wanted to gang up on this pawn, but I also wanted to keep an eye on this bishop. So he played bishop b3. I took. I was like, okay, I want the free pawn. c3. And I'm thinking, ooh, where's my queen go? Here. It cannot go anywhere there. It has to go here. And this knight is doing a good job. So I thought, I have to trade off this knight. I have to go. Knight takes, queen takes, and d takes c6. Here I thought, okay, I have, 7 pawns, right? And after the capture, I will have 7, he has 6, right? So obviously I have an advantage. Bishop d7. Here I thought, okay, I have to trade down because I'm up material. However, I traded the wrong way. And I don't know how I missed it, but I did. I missed it. I played queen f5. And at first sight, you might think, ooh, not bad, right? We're trading when we're up material. But here's the thing. Takes, and white has bishop g5. And at this point, I was thinking, okay, this pawn's not savable. Because e5, I missed this move. Rook and pawn. I missed it. I completely missed it. I was thinking about, I couldn't play here because the bishop pins this pawn. I could move this up, but this would be completely lost. So I thought, okay, might as well give it a try. Bishop e7, and I played d5. I gave up the rook because, I thought these two guys, this center was worth holding on to. So I took bishop a4, bishop d7, rook a1, rook b8. So I thought here, I sort of stabilized with this center, and I thought, why not bring the king in? And this was a big mistake. f4 started. I realized how bad it was as an assault on my king, right? When I played here, then white has c4, and then it has this take, 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 and the rook comes in. And I thought, no, this is not great, right? And if I play here, it gets even worse. Bam, bam, c5. Because after king takes, rook takes bishop, right? So obviously I have to move up. And then I'm thinking b4, right? Rook takes, check, takes, takes. And I'm obviously down material here, but I have good compensation. I have the 2 bishops. I have some good pawns, right? And I might be able to take this pawn next move. So I thought I was okay. So obviously I didn't play king d6 because I looked at all those dangers and I said no. So I played f6 instead. c4 takes. Because notice this, I really wanted to play here. But what happens after that is it gets chopped right off. Because I can't take, because it's pinned, right? So I was like, okay, no, I can't do this. Takes, right? So he takes my pawn, and I'm thinking, do I have any other alternative other than taking? I asked myself, the answer was no, so I took back, rook b4. A threat between 2 pieces, moved back, I moved, and he played this brilliant move, c5. He sacrifices this pawn, but he does it in order for activity. And the activity, I mean, is he gets his rook in here, and he can take this, right? And here I was thinking, okay, it's definitely over. I'm going to lose this game, but I've got to go down with the fight. So I play takes, and I played this tricky move e4. The reason being that I want this bishop to come here, check, and take the pawn. So I was thinking at first, what if he just plays king h1, right? And now I can play bishop e5 because he's no longer able to come down to d6 to come take the pawn anymore, right? So if this happens, I'm thinking, okay, I like this situation. But it didn't happen. I played rook d6 right away. I checked, king f1, bishop takes, rook takes, bishop b6, rook c4, and here I thought, okay, if I take, push this pawn, I think I can hold this. I think I can draw this. Obviously I was wrong, but I did think I could do it. I didn't do it, so it was a very bad judgment on my part. So instead I should have just taken this pawn, kept these two pieces on the board, so that if he checks, get my king over here, and I still might have a chance at running this guy, right? So at least in this case I would have a chance. But I took right away. Terrible choice. I learned from my mistakes. I looked back at the game. I saw the mistake. I recognized it. And I thought to myself, I cannot do this next time again. So it's those small mistakes that really help your opponent sweep the floor to victory. So after this, I push the pawn. Okay, so the bishop is defending the pawn. Rook d1, king e6. So moving up, I'm deciding, you know what? Gotta go in. h5, king f4, rook d5. Awesome move. He wants to play this c5 pawn next and sort of disconnect my connection to that pawn. I play king g3. I go in for his pawns, right? He plays c5, bishop c7, king takes, rook there, bishop g3. Now, if I play bishop h2, he has a winning move. What is the winning move? Rook d2 check. And after king takes h3, rook takes h2, king takes, and the pawn is faster than anyone else. So, that's why in that case, white would win much easier. So instead I decided, you know what, bishop g3, because after rook takes, which was what I was hoping, bishop f2, king e4, bishop takes. Next move I get to gobble up this pawn, and I'll take a draw. Didn't happen. So king takes, c7, takes, and this is completely lost, because the rook and the king are just in time to sort of own my king. h3, checkmate. So I had to play h4. Bam, bam, and I resigned here. So obviously I had a good game until up to the fact I missed this. That was my main mistake, and then later on I made this inaccuracy, trading. So I've summed up my two mistakes, and hopefully in your games you've also learned something and highlight those mistakes.